3 casinos, 2 slot parlors, and that's an awful lot for the state to absorb all at once. And if you look at what's happening in Mohegan Sun, they just laid off 400 employees. The casino industry isn't exactly healthy right now. So let's do
no
one.
industry is healthy right now.
Yeah, do one, see how it works, and then move on from there.
Right. I just like I say, I'm not a big casino person, but when I do go to these, it's amazing. You see all the bus loads, the carloads of people coming in from Massachusetts, and they're taking their money and taking it to another state, and it's just so you would like to, spend a little here.
Recoup a little here.
Yeah, they do. They go down in buses and they stop at restaurants, and it's like I find, I don't want to get into casino gambling, but I'm just saying they stop at the restaurants and they stop here and there. So not spending it all in the casino, they are spending it on the trip.
Yep.
Okay, now there has been much discussions on how the current administration has made using the Registry of Motor Vehicles, the RMV, more difficult, closing branches, etc. Apparently, there was an article in today's local paper that, not a letter to the editor, that a lady went to the new one in Attleboro and they wouldn't take cash from her. It's
all upside down. They charge you, if you go there, they wanted to charge you $5 just to stand on the line. No matter when you go, there's long waiting lines, long waiting time. And that's a perfect example of something that Charlie and I want to do. It's not user-friendly.
No.
And that's, if people have to utilize it, it's one of the few things that everybody has to utilize here in the state. It should be user-friendly.
Well, those are exact words here. Are there plans of the Baker Tisei administration to make this agency more user-friendly? Yeah. And do you think the Patrick Caprellian people have messed up the system?
It's been, the registry, more than any other state agency, has been a complete disaster over the last 4 years. I mean, they had the registry at a point with Dan Grabowskis that place was humming. Customer service was a top priority.
It raises a lot of money.
People got $500 million a year in profit. And what they did was raise the fees $75 million, close down a bunch of registries. I know Betty Poirier and Representative Barros, they were really on top of this because this area was really affected, if I remember correctly. And the bottom line is, Charlie and I do have plans. We're going to keep the registries that are in existence right now, but we also want to establish a whole series of kiosks that we would place in shopping malls and other high-traffic areas.
They had them years ago.
Well, these would be, pretty much automated. You could do 12 different functions: renew your license, get your registration, turn in plates. Other states do this, and we could put them in malls and places where people don't have to take off a day of work. You could go on a Saturday or a Sunday or at night at your convenience and take care of some of these very simple things so you don't have the lines at the registry that you have right now.
Are they you think Dad's going to reinstate sending out notices for renewals of things? I mean,
that's another crazy thing to cancel. I mean, whatever
they say they'll do it electronically, email and stuff. A lot of senior citizens aren't big on the email, and a lot of people in general just don't have that. And
the registry, I think, would be something I would want people to judge us on because we know exactly what we need to do there.
Right. They need to judge the current people on it too, because it's just it's not good. It's not good. Yeah. Not right now.
We went on a registry tour all over the state, and I went to probably about, probably a dozen registries, and every time I'd go to a registry, even if it was 9 in the morning, the line would be out the door.
Yeah, but if you went 2 years ago, you'd have to go to more offices because they closed them all down.
Yep. So. No, exactly.
So, changing gears here now, we did a show last week about, it's a cleanup fund for underground storage tanks with regards to petroleum. They call it the 21J fund. Are you familiar with that at all?
A little.
Okay.
Yep.
This basically, in a nutshell, this was a fund that is paid for by the petroleum retailers. Yep. They pay into this fund. And what it is, it's like a self-insurance thing. So when they have an underground environmental issue, they can get reimbursed from this fund for the cleanup.
Yep.
And apparently now, since 2002, the legislature has been raiding this fund and taking the money out of it. Mm-hmm. So, and I know it's...
This is one of the things, I'll tell you, in state government that drive people crazy, because that's really a fee that's that people are paying for a service. And the fact that the state's raiding the money from the fund is a big problem. A lot of employers in the state are are charged as part of their unemployment insurance for a worker training fund, and the state has done the same thing with that fund. They've taken employers' money, out of the fund that it was directed for a specific purpose and put it in the general fund of the state, rated the money. And one of the things, I think when you're charging individuals and you're charging businesses, taking their money away for an
it's their money.
Explicit purpose, and then stealing the money.
Right.
It's obviously a problem, and it's one of the reasons people don't have a lot of confidence in the government right now.
Okay, so that's something that Baker Tisei
Yep.
administration will definitely look into. We can say that because we did a whole show on it last week. We went almost an hour on it. So it means, it may not mean a lot to some people, but it means a lot to others. And it's a self-funded thing. It's one of the few government oversight things that actually worked.
Right.
And that was one of the, we had the gentleman that was here, local environmental engineer, Ralph Penny was here last week, and he sees this first, up close and personal. So he's the one that wanted to do the show on it, and he brought us all kinds of information. So I was just curious about that. So now let's move on to something else. Now we got that out of the way. Okay, now you're going for lieutenant governor, which has gotten some press lately. That position. Mm-hmm. Okay, it's always come up, but the state constitution doesn't outline specific duties for the lieutenant governor. So, do you feel this is an important role, and what role will that lieutenant governor play in a Baker Tisei administration?
Well, I think, obviously there aren't any defined roles. I think the only thing you do is chair the governor's council. So it all depends on what your relationship is with the governor.
Right.
I mean, we've had governors and lieutenant governors that don't talk or don't speak. But in this case, Charlie and I chose to be together. He asked me to do this because he thought that my skill set complemented his, and he has a lot of executive experience, administrative experience. I have a lot of legislative experience, small business experience, and I think together, combined, we're a pretty good team. And what my job will be in the administration is, we know this isn't like Together We Can. I mean, well, you never know what
so
the
you have
agenda
the
was. We have an agenda. We know exactly what we want to do, and my job will be to help push the agenda through the legislature.
Okay, so you have the ability to be critical to him?
Oh, we've known each other for 20 years.
So if you don't see something you don't like,
you know what, the reason I think Charlie likes me and what we get along so well and I like him is that we're totally brutally honest with each other. And one of the things when you're governor that's a problem is that a lot of people won't tell you the truth about what's going on. And the successful governors are the ones who bring in people and put them around them that are unfiltered advice and opinions, and that's what I'll be for Charlie, and I think I can really help him.
Very good. How large of a staff would you think you would have if you were elected?
You know what, I have no idea. I think my staff will be Charlie's staff. When Bill Weld and Paul Salucci ran, it was sort of the same deal. Bill Weld had a lot of administrative experience, Paul Salucci had legislative experience, and they were a great team. Charlie worked for Bill Weld. I was Bill Weld's campaign chairman when he ran. We saw the way that they interacted, and their staffs, there wasn't really a Salucci staff or a Weld staff. Everybody sort of worked together for the both of them, and that's what we'll end up doing.
Do you think you think it would be cool if you were like maybe the governor's press secretary or head of the turnpike, or at the same time you consolidate some jobs and save some money? Is that?
I'll tell you what, sitting down, whatever he wants me to do, that's what I'll do.
Yeah.
And I know my focus will be on the legislature and working with the municipal officials. But if there's a particular function that he needs me to do, I'm there for him.
Okay. Now I'm going to deal with somewhat of a local issue, okay, and that the current administration has made the South Coast Rail Link almost a pet project of them. The administration seems adamant about ramming this project through towns that don't necessarily want it or cannot handle it, okay. Is this a good public investment?
Well, if the MBTA were a business right now, and our commuter rail system was operated as a business, it would be bankrupt. I mean, they don't have the money to maintain their current infrastructure.
Okay.
And what this South Coast Rail project is all about is spending $2 billion. The ridership projections don't make any sense at all. Most every commuter rail loses money. because the ridership doesn't equal the cost of the service. But in this case, for South Coast Rail, they can't even meet the minimum standards. And to go move ahead with the project that's going to cost $2 billion without having any way to pay for it at a time like this is a big problem, and I don't think that we can do it.
So you think the current governor's dream to make this happen is clouding his vision?
No, it's not going to happen, and what he's doing is going out there and pandering to the South Coast area, telling them that this is going to happen. If we had $2 billion to spend, rather than building this rail line, would almost be better investing it in some of the communities like New Bedford and Fall River and trying to help them, rather than bringing people to Boston to work, trying to spend the money in those communities to help promote economic development so there are jobs
And the other thing
there.
is, why through this area? If you were going to drive from Boston to South Coast, you're not going to go through these towns, Mansfield, Norton. You're just not gonna. I don't understand why. And then if they did it in Mansfield, they'd have to run a complete third track because we don't have the capacity because we run the Amtrak lines here through New York City and Washington.
I mean, we can't take care of the bridges and roads and the commuter rail lines we have right now, and to go ahead with because even after it's built, somebody has to run and operate the line, and you're giving it to a transportation system that can't even handle what they have right now.
Okay, so now where would the Baker Tisei administration stand on Cape Wind?
We do not support Cape Wind, and we don't have a problem with clean energy or renewable energy. It's important that we do that here in the state. But one of the problems in Massachusetts is we have the fourth highest electrical cost already in the country. And if we're going to move ahead with alternative sources of energy, what we should be doing is looking to try to bring about the most cost-effective options. And Cape Wind right now, I think when it's built, it's going to cost $600 million in federal money. The ratepayers are going to pay $700 million. And then when the electricity itself is, I think, 19 cents a kilowatt hour, and it goes up every year. You can get energy from Hydro-Quebec right now in Canada for about 6 cents a kilowatt hour. So why would you want, or you could get wind energy from TransCanada up in Maine for 11 cents a kilowatt hour. So why would you want to pay 2 or 3 times more for a project like this down here, in the Cape? It doesn't make a lot of sense.
I wouldn't. That's why I'm asking you, because.
And they say, oh, it's only a cup of coffee a week for the average person. That's what they always say. But when you look at this is going to be a job killer, because if you own a manufacturing company or a company that uses a lot of electricity, your bills are going to skyrocket. I think the average was, they had a whole chart in the Herald last week, actually. It was like $10,000 increase a year to $100,000 increase a year, depending upon what type of business you have.
Yeah, no, I don't like the old cup of coffee, because the current governor used that for when he was talking about a gas tax.
Right,
And it was a cup of only a large coffee a week. And it's like, where do you buy your coffee?
What's going on here?
So anyways, now I got to ask you about another candidate, Tim Cahill.
Yep.
Okay, he's been all over the news. Can he win?
No.
Now, I mean, what is his end game? So many things came up now with the governor calling him, and
I don't know, to speculate or whatever. But what I would say is that the race right now is between Deval Patrick and Charlie Baker. And if you live here in Massachusetts and you're happy with the way things have gone over the last 4 years, you should vote for Deval Patrick. If you're not happy and you think that Massachusetts can do better than we're doing right now, and that we need to change, Charlie Baker's the person. And that's really that's really the choice that voters have this November. And I do think that we're going to end up being successful, because I do think, again, people realize things are off track here, and we have to change things.
The reason I asked this is the governor has a Ask the Governor show on the radio once a month on one of the local channels in Boston. And they asked him about that today, and he said his quote was that, well, that wasn't, when they asked him about his phone call to Mr. Cahill, he said, well, that wasn't supposed to get out. And it's like...
Oh, who knows what's going on with the two. You know what?
Anyways,
I got to tell you, the two of them are very close, because when Governor Patrick ran the first time. The treasurer came out and endorsed him because he's been a Democrat for a long time. And the two of them have been a political team up on Beacon Hill, allies for the last 4 years. And, one of them has been the CFO for the state. The other's been the CEO. They get along pretty well. And